On October 29, 1914, the Ottoman Empire entered World War I on the side of the Central Powers. Now, it was officially at war with Great Britain, France, and Russia. After joining the war, Ottoman intelligence officials ransacked the French consulates in Damascus and Beirut, where they found documents linking Arab nationalists with British and French agents. Armed with this information, Jamal Pasha, the Ottoman Minister of War, began a crackdown on Arab nationalist organizations. The crackdown led to the arrest of 11 Arab conspirators, some of whom were connected to Feisal Hussein, Sharif Hussein's son. Before they were executed in August 1915, these Arab nationalists were interrogated and almost certainly divulged valuable information. Another 21 Arab nationalists were executed the following year. In the early stages of the war, Sharif Hussein ibn Ali declared Mecca's neutrality. While this suited the British just fine, the Young Turks considered it treachery. Sharif Hussein tried to negotiate. He offered his support in return for the release of the Arab nationalists and guaranteed hereditary rule over Mecca. The Young Turks flatly refused. They demanded his unconditional support. The thing is, the Young Turks were fed up with Sharif Hussein. First of all, he had been appointed by Sultan Abdul Hamid II, whom the Young Turks had deposed in 1908. Secondly, Sharif Hussein had opposed the Young Turks' plans to build a rail line into Mecca. Thirdly, Sharif Hussein refused to support the empire as it went to war. And now, Ottoman intelligence had discovered a connection between Sharif Hussein and the Arab nationalists. In January 1915, Sharif Hussein learned that the Young Turks had ordered Wahid Pasha, the Ottoman governor of the Hejaz, to depose and assassinate him. This was the turning point for Sharif Hussein. He finally made up his mind to side with the British. Now, it was just a matter of staying alive while getting as much as he could from both the British and the Ottomans. In March 1915, he sent his son, Feisal Hussein, to Istanbul to lodge a complaint with the Ottoman Caliph. But Feisal Hussein also had a couple of other missions. For one, he was to determine if the Sublime Porte, that is, the Ottoman central government, supported the Young Turks' decision to remove him. But more importantly, Feisal Hussein was to meet with Arab military officers and secret society members in Damascus to discuss Arab independence. When Feisal returned to Mecca, he informed his father that the message from Istanbul was clear: support us in the war or face dismissal. And the message from the Arab nationalists was also clear: join the British, revolt against the Ottomans, and create an independent Arab state. They presented Feisal with the Damascus Protocol, which outlined an Arab state consisting of modern-day Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Palestine, Saudi Arabia, and the Gulf, with Aden and Yemen staying under British control. If he supported the Damascus Protocol, Sharif Hussein would be declared King of the Arabs. The terms of the Damascus Protocol are what Sharif Hussein presented to the British. These were his demands if he supported Great Britain. The British did not take Sharif Hussein's demands seriously, but they wanted to take advantage of a potential Arab rebellion against the Ottoman Empire. After all, if they let this pass, there was always the chance that Sharif Hussein could take the safe route and support the Ottomans. But now there was a problem for Great Britain. It had made too many promises to too many parties, and it could not keep them all. First of all, Great Britain had an obligation to its main allies, France and Russia. Both nations wanted specific pieces of the Ottoman Empire if the Entente powers won the war. France wanted Syria and Lebanon, while Russia wanted Istanbul. Secondly, Great Britain had obligations to its own empire. British India wanted Baghdad and Basra. British Egypt wanted Syria. And now, Great Britain had made additional promises to Sharif Hussein ibn Ali. Mind you, we haven't even mentioned Britain's future promise to the Zionists, that is, the Balfour Declaration. Sir Henry McMahon was the new British High Commissioner of Egypt. Lord Kitchener, who was now the British Minister of War, authorized him to make whatever promises he needed to get Sharif Hussein to side with Great Britain. The series of letters between Sir Henry McMahon and Sharif Hussein became known as the McMahon-Hussein Correspondence. Within these letters, Sharif Hussein demanded a clear, specific agreement on the boundaries of this new Arab state the British were promising him. Henry McMahon, however, deliberately kept his language vague. As an experienced diplomat, he was reluctant to put his name on any documented promises. He confirmed Great Britain's support for an independent Arab state, but he would not commit to specific boundaries and advised Sharif Hussein that France had already laid claim to Syria. With regard to the vilayets of Aleppo and Beirut, the government of Great Britain have fully understood and taken careful note of your observations, but as the interests of our ally, France, are involved in them both, the question will require careful consideration and a further communication on the subject will be addressed to you in due course. Henry McMahon also hinted at British claims to Baghdad. The government of Great Britain, as I have already informed you, are ready to give all guarantees of assistance and support within their power to the Arab kingdom, but their interests demand, as you yourself have recognized, a friendly and stable administration in the Vilayet of Baghdad, and the adequate safeguarding of these interests call for a much fuller and more detailed consideration than the present situation and the urgency of these negotiations permit. Sharif Hussein was willing to negotiate on certain points, but he insisted that Syria and Lebanon become part of this hypothetical future Arab state. In order to facilitate an agreement and to render a service to Islam, and at the same time to avoid all that may cause Islam troubles and hardships, seeing moreover that we have great consideration for the distinguished qualities and dispositions of the government of Great Britain, we renounce our insistence on the inclusion of the vilayets of Mersina and Adana in the Arab kingdom. But the two vilayets of Aleppo and Beirut and their sea coasts are purely Arab vilayets, and there is no difference between a Muslim and a Christian Arab. They are both descendants of one forefather. These disagreements and much more were never worked out. And to be honest, Sharif Hussein was negotiating from a position of weakness. He needed the British more than the British needed him. He did not have an army, his influence over the Arabs was very limited, and many of the Arab nationalists who supported him were in prison awaiting execution or had been shipped to the front lines or were in hiding. The McMahon-Hussein correspondence took place in the autumn of 1915. This led to negotiations between the British and the French in the winter of 1915. Before Britain could make concrete promises to Sharif Hussein, they had to know just how far they could go without violating French claims to Syria. Britain had long since recognized these claims, and as their ally in the war, they could not make any offers to Sharif Hussein without first getting French approval. And so, French diplomat François-Georges Picot traveled to London to discuss certain concessions the British wanted France to consider. Representing the British in these talks was an inexperienced diplomat named Mark Sykes. Mark Sykes thought of the Arabs as children. He did not really believe the Arabs could function as an independent state. He thought they would be happy as a protectorate of either the British or the French. He did not fully appreciate Sharif Hussein's desire for true independence. Mark Sykes knew that Sharif Hussein and the Arabs were suspicious of French intentions in Syria, but he thought these suspicions were overblown and that the Arabs were just being paranoid. When the negotiations ended, the future makeup of the Middle East had been set. Much of the region we now call Iraq would go to British India. France would get the Syrian coast, including Lebanon, with influence over Syria. François-Georges Picot agreed to allow an Arab ruler over Syria, but it had to be an Arab the French controlled. Both Britain and France had initially laid claim to Palestine, but during the talks they agreed it would remain under international jurisdiction, though nobody really knew what that meant. The rest of Arabia would form a future so-called independent Arab state that the British and the French could exert their influence over. Mark Sykes believed this arrangement satisfied both the British commitment to the Arabs and the Arab desires for an independent nation. The British and French parliaments approved this agreement between Mark Sykes and Francois-Georges Picot in February 1916. However, it would only come into effect once the Arabs announced their rebellion against the Ottomans. For the time being, both sides agreed it would be best to keep everything secret. With Britain and France in agreement, the only thing left was to get the other allies, particularly Russia, to sign off on it. Russia did not care about Syria and the Levant. All they wanted was access to the Dardanelles Strait and for the Caliphate to be taken away from the Turks. In April 1916, Jamal Pasha informed Sharif Hussein that 3,500 soldiers would be coming through the Hijaz to meet up with German forces in southern Arabia. Sharif Hussein had a feeling the Young Turks were onto him and believed these soldiers were coming to remove him. It was time to make a decision. The Young Turks were closing in. He had the promise of British naval and financial support, and he expected hundreds of thousands of Arabs to rally to his cause. In June 1916, Sharif Hussein declared the beginning of the Arab Revolt. The response was not quite as dramatic as the British would have liked. The British were hoping Arab units within the Ottoman military would join the revolt. Not a single Arab unit revolted, and most Arab soldiers remained loyal to the empire. A few local tribes in the Hijaz did join the revolt, but they had to be bribed with British money. There were also a few Arab dissidents who joined the revolt, but they had defected to the British side long ago. Despite the lackluster response, the Arab Revolt was underway, and now Sharif Hussein had to follow through, and he began by shedding Muslim blood in the holiest city on the planet. In the next episode, we will discuss Sharif Hussein's campaign to conquer the Hijaz.